Hi, everyone. Welcome back to English Unlimited podcast. I'm Charlie.
And I'm Jamie.
And welcome to the deep dive.
Yes, welcome. So our mission here is really to take those dense, advanced English learning
The
materials.
ones that are kind of intimidating.
Exactly. The ones packed with essential real-world language. And we extract the most important little nuggets of knowledge.
The really practical vocabulary.
That's it. So it's basically your high-speed shortcut to sounding a lot more natural.
And just being, better informed on all these different topics.
Nope.
And if you're a serious language learner, you know exactly why we do this. It's because we all, and I mean all of us, we hit that stage.
Oh, yeah.
The source materials actually call it being stuck in the mud.
That's a great way to put it.
It really is. It's when you understand, maybe 80% of what you hear,
Right.
but that last 20%. The nuance, the phrasal verbs, all those sophisticated adjectives, that's what stops you from sounding like, well, a native speaker.
That's the intermediate trip. We know the feeling so well. And today, we're basically building that linguistic bridge for you.
A bridge. I like that.
Yeah, we're taking these really common, relatable experiences like health, anxiety, and dealing with stress, and mining them for that high-value vocabulary that will just instantly upgrade your conversational English.
We have a massive deep dive ahead of us. We're covering everything from personality analysis to global complexity.
It's a big one.
It is. So, to keep you locked in right to the very end, we are making 3 concrete promises today, starting with some pretty vital medical advice.
Okay, so first we will be revealing the 3 non-negotiable rules that medical professionals now insist on for anyone who feels that compulsion to look up their symptoms online.
Which is of everyone.
Which is everyone. So this is key to managing that very modern health anxiety.
And second,
we're going to dive deep into 2 crucial language tools. We're going to dissect the subtle difference between being just relaxed and being genuinely laid back.
Okay, I like that.
And then we'll tackle that incredibly versatile phrasal verb to get over. It's just essential for talking about recovery, both, physical and emotional.
And what's the last one?
And finally, because I know this trips up almost every single learner,
Oh, no.
I am giving you and you, the listener, a challenging pop quiz.
Okay.
Testing the fundamental legal distinction between the criminal roles of a robber and a burglar. Stick with us to nail that.
It's going to be a fascinating journey into, granular English usage. But before we jump headfirst into the world of digital health worries, we have a quick but vital request.
We do.
If you recognize that struggle of being stuck in the intermediate stage, and if this detailed analysis helps you grow, please explicitly subscribe to English Unlimited Podcast and like this deep dive.
It really helps us know we're hitting the mark.
Okay, let's unpack this immediately. Let's start with a topic that affects absolutely everyone who has ever owned a phone and, felt a strange twitch in their eye.
Yes. Digital health worries.
Exactly. We're diving into the Unit 1B content here, which was all about health and well-being, and it featured this really illuminating radio interview about cyberchondria.
Yeah, and this segment is so important because it validates a very common, a very modern anxiety.
Totally.
The source material frames this perfectly. It's an interview, and it's addressing that habit of self-diagnosing using the internet, which, often leads to just unnecessary panic.
For sure.
And the expert, a Dr. Cannon, didn't just say, stop using Google. Instead, they introduced our first target vocabulary term, and it's a brilliant one.
Wait, that's the word, isn't it? Cyberchondriac.
That's the one.
I've heard it, but I always forget the precise meaning. It sounds so formal, but the behavior it describes is, it's so common.
Well, that's because the word itself is just a combination of 2 older concepts. You've got cyber, relating to the internet.
Right.
And hypochondriac, which is someone who constantly worries they're ill.
Okay, that makes sense.
So, put simply, a cyberchondriac is someone who checks medical symptoms online and then becomes excessively worried. And usually convinced that they have some serious or rare illness despite having, minor or even non-existent symptoms.
I think every single person listening right now just saw their life flash before their eyes.
Probably.
Because we all do it. You type in sore throat, fatigue, and the search engine just bypasses the common cold and jumps right to 5 different types of terminal cancer.
It's the anxiety multiplier effect of the internet. The digital access, which should give us knowledge, often just gives us fear. And we really need to look at how we use this word because it instantly labels a very specific modern behavior.
Okay, so let's see it in action. How about you start with the examples?
Certainly. So first, let's use a formal example, the kind of thing you might read in a medical journal or a serious newspaper.
Okay.
The recent survey found a significant correlation between high-frequency internet use and the development of cyberchondria among young adults.
Ah, so you can say cyberchondria for the condition itself.
Exactly. We often use the non-person noun when we're talking about the phenomenon. It's really useful.
That is useful. It moves the conversation from the person to the problem. What about just using it in daily chat?
In a casual context, it's a great way to describe a friend or a family member who panics constantly.
Right.
For instance, he's such a severe cyberchondriac. He convinced himself his persistent heartburn was actually a heart attack, so he rushed to the emergency room 3 times last month.
That example is perfect because it shows the worry leading to that unnecessary, really dramatic action.
Exactly. It emphasizes the excessive nature of the worry. It's used a bit humorously, maybe, but it gets the point across.
I get it. Okay, what about the funny or figurative one?
Right. So, to really cement the definition, let's try this. After updating my computer's operating system, I became a total cyberchondriac for its hard drive, constantly running diagnostics and worrying about random error codes.
I love that.
You're just applying that same irrational, excessive worrying behavior to a non-human thing.
A very common trick in English. Love it.
Ah.
Okay, let's try it out. A quick scenario role play. I'll be the overly worried person, and you can be the voice of reason.
Sounds good. Go for it.
Deep sigh. My left ankle clicked when I walked up the stairs this morning.
Okay.
Looked it up online, and the third result suggested I might have a rare bone condition that usually only affects Siberian reindeer herders.
Uh-huh.
I'm thinking about scheduling an MRI immediately.
Oh, Charlie, stop it. You're being such a classic cyberchondriac. You need to just take a deep breath.
You what if?
Unless you've recently moved to Siberia, I'm guessing it's just a tired ankle. You need to relax before you cost yourself hundreds of dollars for a self-diagnosis.
You know what? Hearing it back, it does sound ridiculous.
A little.
But I totally get the word now. It's all about the obsessive internet-driven diagnosis.
Exactly. And when we look at the common word pairings, the collocations, this word is very flexible. We often pair it with intensity. So you might hear a severe cyberchondriac if their anxiety is really debilitating.
Right.
Or the typical cyberchondriac to describe the average case. Or we talk about managing it, like managing cyberchondria or even treating cyberchondria.
Knowing those collocations really helps the word just flow more naturally in conversation.
It does.
So once we've identified ourselves as, potential cyberchondriacs, what did Dr. Cannon actually advise? This is that vital information you promised us in the intro.
Yes.
If we must look online, what are the rules?
Dr. Cannon was incredibly practical and gave 3 essential, I'd say almost life-saving rules to sort of mitigate the anxiety and the misinformation.
Okay, rule 1.
Key tip 1, only look up symptoms online after visiting a doctor.
Oh.
Notice the timing there. The professional consultation has to come before the internet search.
Why is that so important?
It prevents what's called anchoring bias.
Anchoring bias.
It's where the first thing you read, which is usually the worst thing, anchors your belief about what's wrong.
And then it's harder to actually listen to what the doctor's saying.
Exactly. It makes it harder to hear their actual professional diagnosis.
That's crucial. You stop yourself from walking into the clinic already convinced you have the Siberian reindeer bone condition.
Precisely. You get the professional opinion first, then you can use the internet responsibly to understand the diagnosis you've already been given.
Okay, that makes so much sense. What was the second tip?
Key tip 2, use reliable and professional medical websites. The expert really emphasizes credibility here.
Right, not just any blog.
No. You must look for sites belonging to established universities, government health bodies, or major medical associations. Skip the personal blogs and anonymous forums completely.
That's a big one.
And if the site is trying to sell you some miracle cure,
Get out of there.
leave immediately.
This connects to a linguistic point we see a lot in the source materials.
Oh, on.
The difference between illness and disease.
Good point.
When you're using those professional sites, you learn that illness is more of a general term for just feeling unwell.
Right.
But disease is used more strictly for identifiable medical conditions, like infectious ones, say malaria, or something affecting a specific system, like heart disease.
That's a great distinction, and knowing which sites are high quality helps you maintain that semantic precision.
Exactly.
And that leads directly to the third and perhaps the most comforting piece of advice.
Okay.
Key tip 3. Always remember that common symptoms usually have common causes.
I need to write that down.
The example provided was just unforgettable. If you experience diarrhea, it is exponentially more likely to be simple food poisoning or a minor stomach bug
Right.
than it is to be something catastrophically rare, like the Ebola virus.
That is such a powerful counter-argument to the internet's panic machine.
It really is.
The brain always jumps to the 1 in a million scenario, but the doctor just reminds us of probability. Common sense.
So the linguistic lesson here is really twofold. Master the modern term cyberchondriac, and master the practical rules of modern health inquiry.
Right. Knowing the word allows you to identify and manage the behavior.
Exactly.
Now let's pivot completely from high anxiety and illness to something, well, much more soothing. Personality and temperament.
A welcome change. We're moving to the Unit 1A content now, focusing on personality descriptions.
Specifically, those descriptive compound adjectives, right?
Yes. Words like good-tempered, open-minded, and tight-fisted.
These are so vital for B1 learners because they let you pack so much meaning into just one word. They're very efficient.
They are.
But we have a specific story, an anecdote involving a fortune teller that perfectly introduces our next keyword, and it's one that describes a very desirable trait.
We do. It's that captivating story about a man named Chris and a fortune teller called Phaedos.
Right, and she specialized in reading coffee grounds.
A very traditional mystic practice. And the story is a great contextual backdrop for the vocabulary because it involves, well, high stakes.
So let's quickly revisit the highlights, because they were spot on, wasn't that the phrase? What did Phaedos predict that was so accurate?
Well, Phaedos saw two immediate things that were uncannily accurate.
Okay.
First, she predicted sacks of money.
And that was true.
It was, because Chris had been working in the petroleum industry in Saudi Arabia and had saved up a very significant amount of money.
Wow. Okay, what was the second thing?
Second, she saw a blonde lady,
No way!
which was Chris's girlfriend, Carla. The details were so specific that they just confirmed Phaedos' accuracy immediately.
Okay, so if I'm Chris, after 2 perfect hits like that, I am 100% believing everything she says next.
And that's the setup for the dramatic turn. Phaedos suddenly became very grave and delivered the bad news.
What did she say?
She said, I can see somebody in your family who is ill, very ill, at this moment.
Oof. That is a massive dose of anxiety just injected right into the conversation.
It is.
So how did Chris, who just heard this prediction of a serious family illness from a confirmed accurate fortune teller, how did he react?
And that is our linguistic target. The source notes that Chris's reaction was very measured and calm.
Really?
The exact phrase was, but Chris is quite a laid-back sort of person, and he didn't seem to be too worried by what she'd said.
Okay, let's stop and unpack laid back. I hear this term used constantly, but I need some clarity. Does it just mean relaxed, or is there a bit more to it?
That's a good question.
Because I sometimes hear it used negatively, like it could mean lazy or maybe careless. How can listeners make sure they use it to mean calm and not, unprofessional?
That's a brilliant, nuanced question.
Yeah.
The difference really lies in the context.
Okay.
So laid back is an adjective that generally describes someone who is calm, relaxed, and unhurried. They rarely worry or get stressed. They just take things as they come.
So similar to easygoing.
Very similar to easygoing, as the text notes, but it often has a slightly more modern, maybe cooler connotation.
Right. And what about that negative meaning?
To address your concern, think about Chris's story. If he was lazy, the fortune teller wouldn't have seen sacks of money from his hard work.
That's a very good point.
So laid back implies they are calm despite the pressure, not because they avoid effort.
I see. It's about temperament and resilience, not necessarily activity level.
Precisely. Let's dive into those examples to show its proper range, starting with the formal usage.
Okay.
The interviewer sought candidates who possessed both intense dedication and a laid-back attitude toward the inevitable volatility of the market.
So in a professional context, it means stress management, emotional stability.
The job skill, essentially, the ability to stay calm under fire.
Right.
Next, the casual usage, which is probably the most common. We were stuck in heavy traffic for 2 hours, but Sarah was completely laid back, just listening to music and not complaining at all.
That shows resilience in an annoying everyday situation. That's the kind of person you want to travel with.
Definitely. And for our funny, unusual example, the golden retriever was so laid back that when the mail carrier entered the house, the dog just yawned and didn't even bother barking.
Huh. So there, it means exceptionally chill and non-reactive. It's bordering on lazy, but in a cute, endearing way.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes it very clear. Let's try our role play now. I'll bring the stress. You bring the laid-back antidote.
Frantically.
Oh, my goodness. The file I needed for the big meeting tomorrow was completely missing. I've searched everywhere. I can't find it. My career is over.
Whoa. Relax. Panicking won't help us find it. Take 5 minutes, make a cup of tea. Just try to be a bit more laid back about things.
But it's gone.
It's probably right where you left it, and getting upset won't change the timeline. Let's just calmly check the cloud storage again.
You're right. Okay. You're right. That calmer approach is certainly better. And Chris's ability to remain laid back even when hearing that bad news, that's a high bar, but it really illustrates the strength of that personality trait.
It does. And if we look at the common collocations for laid back, we often pair it with things that describe an environment or an approach.
Like what?
We talk about a laid-back personality, describing the intrinsic character.
Okay.
A laid-back lifestyle, which suggests minimizing stress. We might talk about a laid-back approach to a problem, meaning non-aggressive. Or even describe a place, a laid-back atmosphere in a city or a restaurant.
That's really useful. But before we move on, we have to finish Chris's story.
Of course.
Did Fanas's prediction about the ill family member come true? And did Chris manage to stay laid back about that?
Well, the source material confirms the chilling coincidence. Soon after, Chris's girlfriend, Carla, called with the news that Chris's aunt, who lived with his mother, had died.
Wow.
The friend telling the story was certainly rattled, but Chris, true to his character, reportedly managed the shock with a degree of calm that surprised everyone else.
So the word perfectly captures that capacity for emotional regulation.
It really does.
That was a powerful context for personality. Now, let's transition and connect that theme of illness and recovery back to our vocabulary bank. Specifically, let's focus on those essential phrasal verbs from Unit 2.
Phrasal verbs.
The bane of every intermediate learner. They are so essential, but the meaning is often so abstract.
That's true.
If you don't use them, your English sounds flat. But if you use them incorrectly, you just sound confusing.
That's right. And before we focus on our main target to get over, let's quickly remind listeners of a few other medical phrasal verbs in this section. They're all high-frequency terms.
Good idea.
So we had pass out, which means to faint or lose consciousness.
Okay.
We had lie down, which is simple. It just means to rest horizontally.
Okay.
Throw up, which is the common informal way of saying to vomit or be sick.
Got it.
And come around, which means to regain consciousness after fainting or maybe anesthesia.
Okay, so those are all very direct physical actions. But why does to get over make the key list? Because literally it means crossing something, right? Like getting over a physical barrier. How does that translate to recovering from a virus or a traumatic event?
That's the metaphorical brilliance of English.
Yeah.
The defined meaning of to get over is simple. Get better, recover from something.
Right.
But the consistency you asked about, that's the implied meaning of resolution.
Resolution.
Whether you cross a fence or recover from an illness, you are putting an obstacle behind you.
Ah. So recovery is the act of figuratively crossing the obstacle of the illness or injury. That helps link the literal and figurative meanings. I like that.
Exactly. It implies a successful overcoming of a difficulty, which makes it incredibly versatile for both physical and emotional recovery.
It's like a single efficient verb where other languages might need a whole phrase.
Precisely.
Okay, let's go through the expansion protocol for to get over. Let's make sure we hit all the important contexts.
Let's do it. We'll start with a formal health-related context, and we'll use it in the perfect tense. The athlete took an additional 6 weeks of physical therapy to fully get over his persistent hamstring injury before the final competition.
The formality there comes from the very careful, precise language around the recovery process.
Mm-hmm.
And moving to the most common usage, the casual, emotional one.
This is where it really shines. For example, it took her ages to get over the disappointment of being rejected from her first-choice university. But now she realizes it was the best thing that could have happened.
That is incredibly efficient. It replaces much longer phrases like reconcile herself to or stop being sad about.
It does. It conveys the effort and the passage of time required for that emotional healing.
Okay, what about the funny example?
All right, for the funny, lightweight example that still follows the rule of overcoming an obstacle, I was so embarrassed by my speech last week that I spent the whole weekend trying to get over the fact that I called my boss by the wrong name.
Huh. It's a minor mental obstacle, but the language structure still totally applies.
It does.
Okay, let's try a more detailed skit demonstrating that fluid shift between physical and emotional use.
Go for it.
So I'm supposed to run a marathon next month, but I just found out I have a severe case of the flu. I don't think I'll be able to get over this quickly enough to race.
Oh, that's rough. You definitely need to rest and give yourself time. But hey, remember how upset you were last month after your favorite soccer team lost the championship?
Don't remind me.
That was a huge emotional blow. You managed to get over that quickly, so you'll get over this virus too.
You're right. I did get over that loss, though I still mourn the season a little bit.
I'm sure.
I hope the physical recovery is as quick as the emotional one was.
See, 4 instances of the phrase, and in just a few short sentences, we seamlessly discussed physical illness, emotional sports disappointment, and then the general ability to recover.
That's great.
And to finish this segment, let's look at the collocations.
Okay.
Because it means recovery, you just pair it with whatever obstacle you're recovering from.
So,
Get over a bad cold, get over an operation, get over a breakup, get over a disappointment. And critically, you use it with time phrases. It took me months to get over it, or I'm still getting over it.
so if you master this one phrasal verb, your ability to discuss healing and resilience immediately increases tenfold.
I really think so.
That was a fantastic drill on high-frequency vocabulary. Now let's turn our attention toward a much more sophisticated word, one that unlocks your ability to discuss complex, high-level issues like environmental policy or social dilemmas.
Yes, we're moving to the colloquial English section on talking about waste.
This section is key for B2 preparedness, isn't it? It moves beyond simple conversation into the language of analysis.
It does. When you're tackling these immense global issues, you need words that capture that inherent complexity.
And the source material features a filmmaker, just referred to as C, right?
Yes, and C is discussing the difficulty of assigning blame for global waste issues.
And that's where our next word, multifaceted, appeared. I immediately saw this as a word I need to add to my formal speaking repertoire.
Absolutely. The filmmaker was reluctant to just point the finger at one country or one corporation or one individual consumer.
They were very specific that the problem wasn't a simple equation.
Exactly, they stated. It's too complicated to blame one person or one thing or one act, or it's multifaceted, unfortunately.
I love that, unfortunately, at the end.
Me too. It highlights that simplicity is easier, but complexity is the reality.
So let's stop and unpack multifaceted. I know multi means many, and faceted sounds like a face or a side. But how do you explain this to a learner simply without sounding like a dictionary?
Great question. Multifaceted is an adjective that just means having many aspects, sides, or features.
Okay.
You use it when a situation, a problem, or even a person's character is complex and involves many different parts that all interact and influence each other.
The analogy you mentioned helps. A diamond is multifaceted.
Exactly. Think of it visually like that. It's cut with dozens of tiny surfaces or facets, and it's the interaction of all those faces that creates the sparkle and complexity.
A complex problem is the same. It sparkles with difficulty from multiple angles.
That's a great way to put it.
So how do we use such a smart word without sounding like we just memorized a list?
We just apply it in context. Let's look at the formal usage, which mirrors the complexity of the filmmaker's discussion.
Okay.
The committee agreed that the challenge of global poverty requires a multifaceted approach, addressing education, infrastructure, and climate change simultaneously.
It shows the solution itself has to acknowledge the complexity. It elevates the quality of the policy discussion immediately.
It really does. Now, what about the casual usage?
Yes. How would I use this with my friends?
My manager's job is so multifaceted. One minute she's doing HR, the next she's negotiating contracts, and then she's fixing the coffee machine.
Huh. So you're just using the word to mean highly varied and complex. I can use that description for so many people I know who juggle all these different roles.
Exactly. And our funny or weird usage, sticking to that complexity concept. My attempt to bake a simple cake turned into a multifaceted disaster involving a burnt oven, a broken mixer, and a dog covered in flour.
That is a perfect description of complexity in the kitchen.
Yeah.
A multifaceted disaster. I love it. Let's try our role play now. Let's use the term to express the difficulty of a sophisticated task.
All right.
So I'm trying to write this proposal, but every time I solve one part of the problem, let's say the finance section, I realize it creates new complications for the logistics and the staffing sections. It feels impossible to pin down.
I hear you. The way the project variables interact makes it incredibly multifaceted.
Yeah.
You need to stop trying to solve it sequentially and instead develop a multifaceted strategy that addresses all the angles at the same time.
That advice is good, but the language is great. It sounds so much more professional than just saying it's too complicated.
It truly does. And we should also look at the collocations. You'll frequently see it paired with abstract nouns like a multifaceted challenge, a multifaceted issue, a multifaceted strategy.
And you can use it for people, right?
You can. A person with a multifaceted talent just means they have many different impressive skills.
Let's delve a bit deeper into the context here. The filmmaker deliberately avoided blaming one entity for the waste problem because, in their words, blaming a single source lets us off the hook.
That's a great colloquial phrase. Lets us off the hook.
What does that mean exactly?
It just means it frees us from responsibility. The filmmaker's making a powerful point here.
Which is?
If the problem is seen as simple like, oh, it's all the corporation's fault, then we, the consumers, don't feel like we have to change our behavior.
Ah, I see.
But by calling the problem multifaceted, the filmmaker forces us to acknowledge that the solution also requires our involvement in policy, consumer behavior, and recycling.
So, mastering the word multifaceted isn't just about sounding smart. It's about equipping yourself to engage in critical thought and recognize the true complexity of the world around us. It prevents that simplistic black and white thinking that makes us think we can just point the blame easily. That's a huge takeaway.
The huge takeaway.
Okay, now that we've tackled anxiety, personality, recovery, and global complexity, let's move to a segment where intermediate English learners so commonly slip up. It's all because of these small legal and contextual differences. We're talking about confusing criminal roles.
Ah, the common mistake segment. This comes from the Crime and Punishment Vocabulary Bank.
I am ready for the correction because I know I make this mistake.
A lot of people do.
Okay, so let me propose a common learner error. If I come home and find my door kicked in and my expensive watch is gone,
Right.
can I say to the police, "The robber broke into my house and stole my property"?
That is absolutely the classic learner error. And for native speakers who understand the legal distinctions outlined in the source material, the answer is usually no.
No.
That person is specifically a burglar, not a robber in that context.
Darn. Why is the distinction so strict? I mean, they're both criminals who steal things.
The distinction is based on two things: the location and the presence of threat or violence. The source material is very clear.
Okay, break it down for me.
A robber commits robbery. The crime of robbery always involves stealing, usually from a person or an institution like a bank. And crucially, it often involves violence or the threat of violence. The emphasis is on the personal confrontation.
So a robber is almost always stealing face-to-face or under direct threat.
That's a good way to think of it.
So if someone snatched my phone out of my hand on the bus, that person is a robber.
Correct. The confrontation is the key.
Okay, so what's a burglar then?
A burglar, on the other hand, commits burglary. Burglary is specifically defined as the act of unlawfully breaking into a building, a house, a shop, anything,
Right.
usually with the intent to steal. The criminal act is defined by the unlawful entry into the building, often when the people who live or work there are not present.
Ah, so the robber steals from the person or under threat, and the burglar steals from the place after breaking in.
Precisely. If you come home and find your door kicked in and your TV gone, the criminal is correctly identified as a burglar because they entered your building unlawfully to steal.
That is a brilliant linguistic and legal distinction. It means that when you are talking about crime, you need to be very precise about the type of crime committed.
You do.
Robber equals violence, threat, personal confrontation. Burglar equals breaking and entering into a property. That distinction should be tattooed on the brain of every intermediate learner.
I agree.
We have reached the final segment of our deep dive, which means it's time to test your retention and recall.
It is. Charlie, let's fulfill those promises we made at the start with our pop quiz.
Hit me with it. I feel like I'm coming away from this with a completely multifaceted understanding of several new terms, and I'm feeling relatively laid back about the results.
Excellent. And listeners, this is your moment to prove you have mastered the nuances of Cyberchondriac, laid back, to get over, and multifaceted.
Okay, I'm ready.
Question 1. We discussed Dr. Cannon's vital health tips. True or false? The expert advised that the best way to avoid unnecessary anxiety is to use the internet to confirm symptoms before seeing a doctor.
False. A resounding false.
And why?
The primary non-negotiable tip was to only look up symptoms online after visiting the doctor. precisely to prevent becoming an anxious cyberchondriac who self-diagnoses the worst possible outcome.
Spot on, Charlie. Prevention of anxiety through timing.
Exactly.
Question 2. If a situation is complicated, involves many different interacting parts, and is impossible to solve with a single action, is it correctly described as tight-fisted or multifaceted?
It is definitely multifaceted. We use that word to describe any problem or issue that has many different sides, like that diamond analogy you gave us.
And tight-fisted.
Tight-fisted, on the other hand, means someone is unwilling to spend money, a compound adjective that is way less relevant to global complexity.
Perfect. Recognizing that complexity requires sophisticated vocabulary.
It does.
And question 3. Chris, in the fortune teller anecdote, demonstrated what desirable personality trait? Was he strong-willed or laid back?
He was laid back, he was calm, relaxed, and not easily stressed, even when hearing news of potential family illness.
And not strong-willed.
No, a strong-willed person might be determined and stubborn, but not necessarily calm.
Fantastic work. And listeners, remember the key linguistic insight from the common mistake segment.
Yes.
If a criminal breaks into your house to steal your property, they are a burglar, defined by the entry into the building.
We covered so much ground today, from managing our digital anxieties to articulating the sheer complexity of environmental problems.
We did.
It's clear that mastering these specific words is the key to unlocking the next level of fluency.
If I were to summarize the 3 most important vocabulary points we learned today, the ones you should absolutely commit to memory and try to use this week, they are
The big 3.
the big 3. First, cyberchondriac, the noun for excessive, internet-driven health worry. Second, laid back, the adjective for being calm, relaxed, and resilient under pressure.
Okay.
And the versatile phrasal verb, to get over, meaning to recover from an illness or emotional difficulty, overcoming the obstacle.
And now for your micro-challenge.
That's right.
We want you to use one of the more descriptive or sophisticated words we learned today, especially multifaceted or laid back, in a short sentence in the comments below.
Yes, tell us about a laid-back friend, or maybe a multifaceted challenge you faced this morning.
We love seeing your sentences. It's the ultimate confirmation that we are helping you actively grow and stay consistent in your English learning journey.
It really is.
So don't forget to like this deep dive and, most importantly, subscribe to English Unlimited podcast so you don't miss the next session of targeted vocabulary building.
Please do.
I'm Charlie. See you next time.
And